It hurts to know that there are people who come too late because they don't have insurance.
Executive Director Rose Guerrero of Evergreen Health's cancer program says too often people suffer from late-stage cancer, ignoring their symptoms because they can't afford treatment. Cancer's reach is so profound that nearly everyone has been touched by it in some way. But there's another cancer that preys upon those with good intentions. Bogus organizations like the Breast Cancer Prevention Fund, looking to profit on those in pain.
It involves millions of dollars and thousands of Washingtonians contributing to a cause that they believed in, but really it was a scam.
Attorney General Bob Ferguson began investigating the Breast Cancer Prevention Fund in 2011 after receiving complaints that the organization was misleading donors.
I think when they advertised this, when they called you up, they said basically 87 to 93% of your donation would go to the cause of breast cancer prevention. In fact, it was just a fraction of the dollars that went.
Which is a violation of the Washington State Consumer Protection and Charities Law. The Attorney General's office took the Breast Cancer Prevention Fund and its board president, James Patton, to court, uncovering that 80% of the $22 million charity went to fund Patton's own telemarketing company. Plus, an additional $8.5 million went directly into Patton's pocket.
So did any money go to
Very little. Very little. I mean, really a very small amount of money went to that.
Patton declared bankruptcy, but that didn't deter the AG's office from recouping something.
We're able to recover $1.6 million, which is good, and about $500,000 will be for Washington, then 2 other states will split the difference.
That money will now go where it was intended, $500,000 to the Department of Health to provide breast cancer screenings for underinsured or low-income patients. A small victory, but one that Ferguson's office will continue to pursue. Ferguson says it's impossible to track down the people who initially donated, but what's most important is that their generosity won't be in vain.
For the women in the state of Washington, whether you're in a rural community, whether you're at the Canadian border, or here in King County, we will have funds.
The AG's office says they are constantly working on these types of cases and says the best way to avoid being scammed is to protect yourself. Check before you donate by heading to websites like the Better Business Bureau, where you can look up most charities and businesses, or stick to the names you know, like the American Red Cross. Ferguson also warns that many bogus charities will have a name that sounds familiar or legitimate. For HealthLink, I'm Amity Adrisi.